Well, welcome to Extra Point on Southwestern Montana News, brought to you by 82 Coffee Company, Susan McCrae Accounting, and Dream Motors. In the studio right now, we have Montana Western head women's basketball coach, Britt Cooper. Britt, welcome to Extra Point.
Well, thank you for having me.
And Britt, in your first year, and see if my math is right, this is basically your 9th year in the program if we add up playing and coaching, or am I off 1 or 2
I
years?
was 6 years because I was gone for those few years in between down to Texas. So,
Okay.
but I've been watching it the whole time.
Okay, yeah. Well, the wonders of the internet, right?
Yep.
But before we talk basketball, as I'm done with the other coaches, let's have a little scouting report on Coach Cooper. Hometown.
Hometown, Harrison, Montana.
Okay, high school.
Harrison High School.
Hey!
The only high school in Harrison.
Yeah. Okay, so and then you come to Western, and I'm sure you had other offers. And I got to ask you, because we talk about the family affair. Did the family connection to Western have something for you to do coming out of school?
Yeah, like both my mom and dad went here. My sister went here. Cousins did, and I kind of just grew up watching Bulldog basketball and going to games. So I knew it was kind of a good community to come to.
Well, you did okay when you were here. By the time you got done, all conference, all American, and something that not too many players can talk about, you played on a national championship team.
It was a blast. We talk about that year every single day pretty much. Probably too much, but it's a good memory to have. So.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, does that you're talking about being on a national championship team, does that kind of add a little spice when you're talking to your players about the fact that our school won a national championship, so it's a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, people sometimes come to Western, it's a small town. You don't think it is a possibility, but in reality it is if you just kind of have the right mindset and the right work ethic and so on. So.
Well, and you touched briefly on the family affair here. Well, your mom, Lisa, she was quite the all-sports athlete here. If there was a sport that a woman could play at Western, she played basketball, she played volleyball, and she did track. What was would you say she was the best at?
I don't know. I think basketball or volleyball, I'm not sure. I think she's about equal in both those. Kind of undersized in all of her positions she played, but played her role tougher than anyone else. So
Bulldog mentality is what you're trying
mentality,
to say. Yeah, and I presented a picture of you here from taken a few years ago when she came back for an alumni game, just showing she still got it.
She won't play with me though. When I ask her to come to alumni games now, I guess it's too late. But
well, and you know it's interesting because she was the coach. She was your coach in high school, but she was also the coach of a Bulldog Hall of Famer and Bulldog All-American, Bobby Conan.
Oh yeah, she was one of my idols growing up. Got to go to practices and watch her play and get to know her and her sisters pretty well.
Well, I got to ask you, one of your favorite moves when you played here was a little up and under. That was also one of Bobby Scher's favorite moves.
Must have got it from our coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, did Elisa teach that to both of you?
Oh yeah.
Well, and then your aunt Chanel played here in the 80s, and she's now in our Hall of Fame. So there's Bulldog glory all over the place.
Oh yeah, we go play pig all the time, and growing up with Chanel, and she'd beat me usually. But
well, has she made it to any of your games so far as a coach?
Yeah, she's come to a few of them. She moved back to Montana recently, so she's come to a couple of them whenever she can.
Okay. So briefly, the road after you graduate. Oh, and what was your degree?
I got a double major in mathematics and health and human performance, and then came back and finished my teaching degrees for both of those.
But when after you left Montana Western, you were south a little bit, seeking warmer weather.
Yep, it was nice. Right now it would be about 50 degrees there instead of 30, but I went to Angelo State there and got my coaching administration master's and was a GA for the team down there.
So what did you coach? Were you just an assistant coach? Did you have a specific role?
Yeah, my role was mostly doing all the travel, kind of like the director of operations for the team, and then I did a lot of the individual workouts with the girls and worked with the post as well. So.
So did you want to be a coach? I mean, was that kind of in your mind? I mean, your mom was a coach. Was it in your mind to be a coach, or were you going to do something else when you graduated? And then maybe all of a sudden you said, hey, wait a minute now, I may want to try this coaching.
I knew I always wanted to coach. I never knew what level. And then that summer after I graduated, I kind of was not sure what I wanted to do next for sure. And then Coach Wally called me and said that he had a friend down in Texas that needed a graduate assistant. And so I said, I have nothing else planned. Might as well try it out. And I kind of just fell in love with it. So.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a little break, and we'll come back with Britt after this from one of our friends on Southwestern Montana News. Back to Extra Point in the studio, Britt Cooper, head women's basketball coach at Montana Western. Welcome again, Britt.
Thank you.
And 8-5 overall in the conference season. That's a pretty good non-conference record.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We lost a couple tight ones that we're hoping to pull out, but overall I'm pretty happy with how we started and where we're at now.
Well, you're young. You have a very young team, and you have a very, I'm not going to say short team, but you don't have the height that you probably would like to have.
Yep.
You've got some okay size, but nothing that you probably want to have. But you're still playing very, very well. So that's got to show not just the coaching, but how the team is meshing together.
Yeah, we have 2 players that should be 4s, maybe even 3s in our 5 spot right now. But not them and our guards all battle really hard, and kind of what we lack in size, we make up for an effort. And so that's something we've been working on all year. It didn't start too pretty, but we've kind of got it figured out for the most part. There's always room for improvement, but.
Well, your coaching philosophy now, you played 5 years for Wally, because I believe you had a red shirt.
4 years, yeah.
4 years, okay.
Yeah.
You coached under me for 1 year. Obviously, he's got a good philosophy. It won a national championship. But I'm thinking it's like a cook with a recipe. You know, one part Wooly, another part Cooper, maybe another part Lisa Cooper over here, a little bit of everything. And plus, you have to look at what's on the floor too as you're making these ingredients.
Yeah, I try to stick to what Wooly had here because obviously he was very successful, but it comes down to who we have on the court and what team we have each year, so it has to be adjusted a little bit to fit our needs.
Well, you've got some fireball kids out there, you know, your 2 little guards,
Oh, yeah.
the blonde dynamic duo from Washington. You know, it's like memory serves me that one of them, I'm not going to say a name because I don't want to say the wrong name, but had an incredible amount of steals in a high school game.
Oh, yeah, I think
like
that's Isabella.
double digits.
Yeah, she's feisty. She's the one I'll sub in. I go get a steal, and then she'll go crazy out there for 10 seconds and get a couple layups for us, and then I'll be like, "That's what you're there for? Perfect, thank you."
So that's a challenge in itself because you're coming up against teams that do have that size. They've got the 5-player who is 6'3" or 6'2" or something like that, and she's faced with a 5'11", 6-foot player and stuff like that. So now this kind of goes back to basketball basics. You know, how doing the basics, the things you learned when you were a little kid, boxing out, you know, all the little things and stuff like that. So you're one part teacher, one part coach when you're doing this stuff.
Yeah, there's not a day that goes by in practice where we're not working on rebounding and boxing out. But yeah, they work hard and they do what I ask, so that's all I can ask about them.
Well, and then your assistant coach, another former Bulldog, in fact, your teammate for a few years, Alexa Welch, is here.
Yeah, she's been awesome so far this year. At Western, we had a really good relationship. I trusted her as a player. And then the beginning of our national championship year, she was a student assistant and ran some of our weights, and we all really respected her and learned a lot from her, so I was excited to get her on staff this year.
So what's her specialty?
She works mostly with the guards, kind of. She runs our weights and individual workouts too. But she's just been a sound mind for me, keeping me kind of on track. I told her I don't need a yes ma'am here. I need somebody that's going to check me and keep me in line. If I have a crazy idea, tell me it's stupid, but also give me feedback and help me out. So she's done a great job of that this year.
Okay, well, another tough Frontier season. The Skylights come to town Saturday afternoon. They've had some tough years in the past, haven't lived up to their qualified for national tournaments and stuff like that. But Chris Mott always seems to figure out a way, and those kids always figure out a way to play hard no matter who they're playing against. So despite what their record is, how do we look at Northern as they come in?
Coach Mott obviously is a very good coach. Been here for like 19 years. And even in preseasons, we were ranked tied. And so we got to go in there with the thought that they're the better team or could be the better team. And we got to kind of just play our game and not stoop to whatever level they're playing at. We got to rise to our own level.
So what's the strength of their team in what you've seen so far?
They're a very systematic team, as they've been in the past. They like to run a lot of sets and run the shot clock down low, so it makes the other team guard for 25 seconds each possession. And then they have two really good big players too, so there's some height that we have to work around. But I think if we just play our scrappy game, we should be okay.
So how do you have a set rotation as far as who starts and who's first off the bench? Is that set, or does that also depend on who you're playing?
I try to keep the starters the same unless I have some good reason to make a big change to that. But the substitution off the bench kind of comes down to who we're playing, who's going to work better against that team, what we need, whether we need offense out there, or if we need defense more out there. Kind of that's what differentiates. But for the most part, it's the same 8 to 9 players that'll hit the floor.
And how do you look at the Frontier this year overall?
Good. It looks good, of course, but I couldn't tell you who's going to come in first or last. It could be a scrap fight for any single position this year. So.
Well, maybe one of those seasons where that last weekend, the last game of the day or something like that may decide entire seeding.
Yeah, honestly, because teams have been playing the same teams throughout the season, and one team would beat the team by 30, the next team would beat them by 5, but the next weekend those teams flip kind of where their scoring is. So I have no idea. We won't know probably till halfway through the season, if even then.
So let's talk tournament. Tournament again in Great Falls at the Four Seasons Arena. Second time in a lot of years that it's been in one location, a neutral location. Now you've done both. As a player, you've played where you travel around, you host, you travel around. You've been fortunate enough to be on good teams that don't have to do a lot of traveling, get to play most of their playoff games at home, but now it's at one place. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like that?
When we're the top team, I don't like it because it's nice to host those games, kind of sleep in your own bed, not to worry about hotels and all that other stuff. But I don't mind it. Kind of gets the tournament over quicker, and it's more of a function than just a random game spread out through 3 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever it was. So.
Well, one coach says it brings everybody in one building to watch all the teams under one roof.
Yeah, it brings the energy up a little bit too.
So, and we were talking off, the men, 5 out of the 6 coaches all played in the Frontier. You and I were talking before we went on, and I readjusted my math and decided that it was 3 of the 6 coaches all played in the Frontier. But then you brought up something else about those 3 former Frontier coaches.
Yeah, they're all Western alumni, so we breed the good coaches around here, I guess.
That's a good way to end the program. Remember, tip-off 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. It will be Montana Western against the MSU Northern Skylights. Thank you, Britt Cooper, for coming in. We'll bring you in. Maybe you can bring one of your players in a little bit later. We'll let you get into the Frontier a little bit, and then we'll bring you back.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you for joining us on Extra Point, brought to you today on Southwestern Montana News by 82 Coffee Company, Susan McCray Accounting, and Dream Motors.